Welcome to Selling in the Age of AI.
Yeah, this is good stuff. So,
Must-listen podcast for sales professionals who lean into technology without leaning on it. Dive into the future of sales with your host, the dynamic and inspiring Frank Somma, renowned keynote speaker, best-selling author, seminar leader, and business coach. Get ready for game-changing insights and strategies that value technology but place humanity at the top of the sales pyramid.
Benvenuti a tutti. Welcome everyone to Selling in the Age of AI, the podcast where we respect the tech but place human-to-human contact squarely at the top of the sales pyramid. I'm Frank Somma, and today I have Joey Gilkey. He's the founder and CEO of Titan X, the first and only phone internet platform helping B2B sales teams achieve 20 to 30% connect rates by identifying who will actually pick up the phone. With more than a decade of experience leading high-performance outbound programs, he's helped sales teams turn one rep into the productivity of 3 to 5 reps while making fewer dials. Welcome, Joey. That's a heck of a claim, man. I'm so glad to have you here.
I appreciate it, Frank. I love the intro, man. Making sales human again. That's the goal.
It is. I mean, that's kind of what we do on this podcast. We want to always respect the tech because it fuels us. So talk to me about your company and where did the concept come from? How'd you all start out? Give me the genesis of this.
Yeah, man. So Titan X, we're a phone intent platform. To the intro's point, our whole focus has been on how do we optimize the human to do what humans do best, which is converse with the market. And when you converse, you uncover a lot more information, intel, data, intrigue, interest, all the things. And we know that right now that the market is predominantly pushing efforts towards the phone. How do we get our reps to pick up the phone more and go talk to our prospects, go talk to our customers? But the headwinds are becoming more and more prevalent, which is that people are not answering the phone nearly as much as they are. And a lot of that comes down to, just like Google and Outlook hurts cold email, AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon are hurting call deliverability. And so that's why you see spam likely on the phone a bunch.
Right.
And so Titan X solves that problem by knowing who in the market is likely to answer the phone versus who is not. It's all based on human behavior. We all have it. We all leave digital footprints, telephony footprints that give indicators on whether or not someone will or will not answer a phone. So we've tapped into that. We built an algorithm around that enables us to know before your reps hit dial who are the people you would have reached in thousands of dials, but we know who they are today, and we can action and prioritize our market according to that. So our genesis, to your point, I've been in this space a long time, or at least feels long for me. I started off in enterprise tech sales, more IT services at the global 1000 level, global 2000 level. Ended up leaving that and doing a stint as a VP of sales, VP of growth, and then a CRO at more of a mid-market company. Launched my first company in 2017, sold that in 2020. And then how we got to Titan X is very interesting. So I actually built a company called Apex Revenue, which was a fractional CRO, fractional VP of sales company that had an outsourced sales development arm, which is a dime a dozen type of company these days where you outsource your sales. But I came across this interesting concept from a long frenemy of mine. We were always friends, but competitors back in the day.
Right.
Who built this company called Phone Ready Leads. And Phone Ready Leads was this little boutique tech-enabled service. It was really slow. It was really expensive, but it was very powerful. And so I got my hands on it, started using it for myself, started using it for my customers, and started seeing like, man, there's something like dark magic going on here where I'm getting into crazy connect rates. My reps are, I can do the work of 3 reps with 1. It allows me to lower my head count. And I went to Ryan. I was like, man, can I buy this from you? And so I actually acquired Phone Ready Leads back in August of 2023.
Okay.
And I thought I was very intelligent. I was like, I'm going to buy this company. It's going to be the moat around my larger services company. And I'm going to turn it off to the market, which I successfully did. But what I realized was the technology, the moat, was more valuable than the castle it was protecting.
Wow.
And so I made the very expensive at the time, shutting down millions in revenue to go after this software that had no revenue at early 2024. And so early 2024, I decided we're going to go chips, pot committed, all in on what was then Phone Ready Leads that we rebranded to Titan X when we launched it. And then the moment we made that decision, the market validated that idea, and we took off like a rocket ship since then.
Wow. So Who are your who's your best clients right now? What customers seem to be doing well with your system?
Yeah, from like a profile perspective, our best customers kind of sit in this. It's all B2B tech, IT managed services, cyber, predominantly. We do have great customers outside of that, but that's our predominant focus.
Hmm.
There's probably 9,000, 10,000 accounts that I would deem as like worth us pursuing right now.
Yeah.
And those customers have interesting genetic makeups, but that's the industry. But I'd say the more technographic, psychographic aspect of our customers are they're believers in outbound.
Okay.
They're believers in the sales development function, and they're believers in the phone, right? So they believe that the phone is where we have human interaction, which is the best channel for outbound of all channels because it gives us bi-directional feedback from our prospects.
Sure.
And so we tend to target companies that have those qualities, but then they probably have between 5 and 50 reps is our sweet spot. But we have our enterprise customers with, 200, 300 reps. Logos like Workday, Vanta, recently Amex, are more of our bigger customers. But I would really say our sweet spot is that mid-market, probably flying under the radar, probably doing 50 million, $100 million in ARR. But ultimately, they believe in the phone and they just want to optimize the human with technology.
So there's like a ping pong ball bouncing around in my head because there's so many interesting things that you just said that I want to talk about. But the first thing that jumps to my mind is there seem to be a lot of services right now claiming to use an AI component to make sure that I'm A, either dialing the right person, or B, I'm emailing the right person.
Yep.
And, for X amount of dollars, we'll take this list and we'll do this, and AI is the magic component, and you will have leads coming out of your ears.
Yep.
How do you differ from that, and what do you have to say about that?
If it was working, private equity companies wouldn't be mandating that people shut down their sales development arm. That's what I would say.
Okay.
And so I think that people are running from something, not to it, is one of the biggest problems. So I think people are running from a market where we have got ourselves here, especially in the era of COVID, where, a lot of inflated or synthetic money got injected into the market,
Yeah.
where we started making very poor hiring and strategic decisions because we thought it was just this endless ATM machine. And so we had a lot of talent in the market get promoted too early. They weren't ready for it. And then we had a lot of people moving into the market to fill in job requirements for SDRs and BDRs and people who never needed to be there in the first place.
Right.
And so you have this interesting dynamic where the cost of reps went up, but the production went down.
Okay.
And so what they started to do was they started to look at, we need to either keep scaling headcount, which has become less appetizing,
Sure.
or we need to scale volume, which is how do we get our reps to, instead of doing 100 activities, do 200 in the same time.
Right.
And that has a lot of downstream negative impacts. And so we started to throw technology at human or strategic problems, like Band-Aids on a gunshot wound. Doesn't solve the inherent problem. It might stop the bleeding for a second, but there's still, a lot of flesh wound underneath there. And so the promises are under-delivering. AI is under-delivering in some facets and over-delivering in others. The way I look at AI, especially when it comes to sales, is I look at like a restaurant, right? So my wife and I have a restaurant we go to in San Diego that we love. Like I am happy to drop $400, $500 on a dinner, once or twice a year. Let's not get crazy.
Yeah.
But it's called Born and Raised. And so Born and Raised, you go there, it's phenomenal food. Like some of the best food I've ever had. But what you love about it is the experience, right? The people in the front of house. There's front of house of a restaurant, there's back of house.
Right.
Front of house is the experience of the waiters and the floor staff are all dressed to the nines. You get up to go to the restroom, you come back, you have new silverware, your napkin's new, it's folded, your drinks are never empty. They bring the drink carts out and they make them in front of you. They bring this nitrous oxide ice cream table in front of you and they have like this smoke flowing on the table. Like it's an experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the way I think about AI is very similar, which is if that restaurant could deliver the same quality steak, I don't care who or what makes it in the back. I don't.
Right.
But if they got rid of the human element in the front of house, I'd never come back.
Right.
And I'd pay the same amount if the AI was in the back making the steak, if the humans were in the front. So I'm there for the experience. So I look at sales the same way, which is I think that AI is very well suited for back of house, administrative automation and workflows, insights, intelligence, pulling on certain information to help me make better decisions.
Right.
But at the end of the day, the front of the house, the market facing, the waiters, if you will, the sales reps are very much human. How do we create the experience at the front of house where the back house just helps them do their job better?
Right.
So that's how I look at AI. I think that AI that's trying to make its way to the front of house, right? AI writing everyone's copy, AI sending everyone's email. I have yet to see a good use case where that's actually very effective compared to just having humans in the loop that actually do their job well.
I think, Joey, it depends also on the level of what we're doing, right? So if I get, it's so funny, I wrote a book in 2007 that is done with. It's over. It's no longer available. Don't want it to be available. I have, new stuff since then, whatever. I probably get 3 calls a day from someone, that's got an accent I can't understand wherever they are in the world, telling me about how interested they are in my book from 2007 and like making it into a movie or something. And it's like a series of essays. So, it's completely misapplied. That's a place to me where I'm going to have robots calling because all they're doing is chasing the slow deer. It's not about getting a good quality lead. But then I think as you go upstream, so when I talk to salespeople who are worried, the reason I began this podcast is because I had a lot of concern from sales folks saying, AI is coming, I'm going to lose my job, and so on and so forth. But your explanation of back of the house, front of the house makes a ton of sense. There are applications that we can use this technology for. And when we're talking to our clients, though, people want the experience of another human being. There are just so many nuanced things that happen during communication that you're not going to be, you're not going to be replaced by that. The caution that I give salespeople is if you are in a commoditized industry and acting like a commoditized rep, you're going to get replaced. Move yourself upstream to where that can't happen. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's a couple fold. One, I think, is one area where I'm appreciative of regulation. So I'm a conservative libertarian type, right? Maybe not a full-blown libertarian, but I'm definitely conservative leaning.
Do you have a bunker?
I don't want. I have a 70-acre farm with a lot of weapons, but not a bunker. And I do have a lot of prepper things in said farm in one of my 4 barns. But no, for me, what's interesting is I am smaller government, so I don't love regulation. But one regulation I think is very good is the FCC has dropped the TCPA guidelines, which is you can't have AI doing outbound dialing. A lot of regulation usually starts to protect the consumer, right? The grandma in her house just picking up her landline, but they always bleed into B2B and the world we're in.
Right.
And so you can't have AI calling, which is good in a lot of ways because I don't think that we should be AIing out. But to your point, I think that where I see the world moving towards is that AI is meant to enable the human. It's not meant to replace it in a lot of areas. And in some areas it is absolutely going to, and it has replaced.
Yeah.
But I think sales is inherently a transaction between 2 parties based on trust.
Right.
And AI is transactional, but it doesn't build trust. It just is transactional. You give it an input, it gives you an output. But how do I know if I'm going to drop $150,000 that where I'm placing this money, I have built rapport and relationship and trust in that relationship? So the way I see the world moving is I think that we are moving towards from an infantry model to a special forces model, right? Where it is far fewer people who are far more exceptional at their craft, armed with the right weapons, as opposed to thousands of troops swarming the border to go, beach Normandy, if you will.
Yeah.
Right. I think that we're getting into far more interesting warfare, especially in the B2B world. And I don't like to liken it because it's nowhere near as serious as warfare, but I think we're moving towards a world where sales reps need to be armed with the right weapons and they need to be exceptional at their craft.
Right.
If they can't become exceptional at their craft, then absolutely we should be aiming to replace them with the least cost thing that can get an equivalent outcome, in which AI is doing in some categories very successfully, especially administrative roles. But I just don't think that you can eliminate the need for trust in a transaction, at least in a non-commoditized transaction.
Sure.
And so you have to have that human, and that human needs to be exceptional at their craft, and they need to be able to focus on their craft with AI supporting all the things that take them away from doing the things that are the highest leverage, most trust building activities.
I mean, I think people have been afraid of this, but I feel like you shouldn't be afraid of it any more than you were afraid of Google years ago. Because as a salesperson, when I go to visit my client or I'm on the phone with my client with a situation, Google has trumped me information wise. My client already knows as much about my product as I do most of the time. So my job, as you said, is to gain trust and kind of shepherd you through the process. So when I think about a service like yours, it seems vital because you're taking away a lot of the low level grind that's really not to my talent. One of my favorite things, kind of a little anecdote, if you will, not a short one to say, is when I talk to salespeople, I go, well, what do you love about selling? What do you like? They go, oh man, I love it when I'm in the moment and the client signs on the dotted line. I know I got that deal. I said, great. That represents about 1/100th of the time you spend in selling.
Yep.
How do you like the rest of it?
Yeah. Do you enjoy procurement?
Right.
Do you enjoy?
Come on. I mean, we don't. If you're in a really high transactional business, IT services or printers or whatever, and you're doing 5-6 deals a month, that represents how much of your time when you're finishing the deal. Most of your time is spent getting to the table. So, you're taking away a lot of the wasted time in getting to the table, it seems to me.
Well, think of I mean, we're built around a very interesting metric that very few people measure, which is this metric we call the reach rate. So when it comes to cold calling, which is the world I operate in, there's only about 15 to 20% of your market that will ever answer a cold call, ever.
Right.
And I think that we have this. Yeah, it's crazy. Now, do you answer cold calls, Frank?
Never.
Right. So you don't answer them. If I called you 5 times the next 2 months, am I going to change that answer? No.
Nope.
No. That's who you are. That's human behavior. And so you make up the 80% of the market that doesn't answer. Now, I don't know that information. So what do I have to do? I have to call you just like I call someone who does answer.
Right.
And so this reach rate of 15 to 20% of your market answers goes against the current model, which is we need to scale the volume, because I just think if I just call Frank more, he's going to answer. He's not.
Right.
And so every dial I make towards Frank is waste.
Right.
And so all Titanx is doing is we're saying, hey, we know who those needles in the haystack are. We know who those 20% are that will answer a cold call in time. Let's identify and segment them out and prioritize them for our phone efforts. And then if I know that Frank doesn't answer, I probably shouldn't waste as much time on the phone with Frank, and I should be trying other channels, other tactics, other angles.
Right, right.
That's it. That's all it is we're just prioritizing to create efficiency.
And this behavioral information is something that is available, like you said. In this day and age, we leave a footprint on everywhere we go, and you're able to create the algorithm that allows you to get that down. Now, Joey, drill down for me. How does that happen in a company? So I'm dealing with, what let's say I'm dealing with Konica Minolta or Toshiba or whoever.
Mm-hmm.
If the buyers are the people that are in the 80%,
mm-hmm.
who are you having me call? And why does it help me?
Yeah, so we look at things from like assuming you have a transaction size that is worth the cost of acquiring that customer and doing the things required. So we look at it from, in that example, if I have a decent transaction size and it's worth me putting the money into figuring out how do I get to the buyer, we call it above the line, below the line.
Okay.
So if you think about above the line, that's your C-suites, your C-1s, your C-2s, right? SVP, VP, directors. And then below the lines, you might have your managers, analysts, individual contributors. They don't make the decision.
Right.
And so what we tell people is there is still about 20% of your market that will answer the phone. That means if I have, let's say 20 people in an org, let's say I have 1 or 2 at the C-suite, 2 or 3 at the SVP, VP level, 4 or 5 at the director, and then the other 10 or so underneath the line. I'm going to take all 20 of them, run them through, and I'm going to find who are the 4 or 5 of these 20 people that I know I can get on the phone today. Now, why is that important? Is because, again, sales is inherently human. I'm going to call the people I can talk to. And even if they're not the stakeholder, I'm going to glean as much information and intelligence on that account as I can,
Right.
so that when I go back up to the top where I maybe can't get them on the phone, I'm armed with information so that when I send the email or I do the LinkedIn or I send the direct mail
Right.
or I try to find them at a conference, I'm now armed with information from 4 or 5 people who are below them that then gives me a far more greater opportunity on other channels to convert them. If I went to Frank and I said, hey, Frank, haven't spoken yet, didn't bother calling you. I knew I wouldn't get you, but I did talk to Jimmy, Sally, Rachel, and Jim or Tim, and they told me X, Y, and Z. They thought it'd be relevant that I reach out. I know I wouldn't get you on the phone, so I thought I should shoot you an email. I also dropped you something on LinkedIn. Could you stomach 15 minutes for me to kind of share what some of your team shared with me? You're probably far more likely to convert at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I see how that works. So when you think about, we were talking a little bit about AI before and how people really don't understand its role. As we go forward, because, I think about this in relation to medical technology, right? So, a handful of years ago, you didn't have gene therapy to cure a disease. Then you got gene therapy, and now the walls are falling faster and faster, right? So what seemed inconceivable 20 years ago, now it starts happening. That window shortens up because you've got so much more information now. So we're kind of in the beginning of AI where people are enjoying, 'cause there are companies that are using it in a sophisticated way, but, John Q. Consumer knows a little bit about ChatGPT and maybe he's done a presentation or, threw some slides in and made them look nice or whatever. Where do you see it for sales professionals going forward for a couple of years? Where do you get to?
I think that it's not there yet, but it's close. Well, let me tell you where it's at right now, where I think it's really good. So we have this model we call the bow tie model.
Okay.
So the bow tie model is thinking about you got a really wide top of funnel. Let's pretend the funnel's on its side.
Yeah.
At the very top. That's your top of funnel work awareness stage. They're not even in a meeting yet. All the way down to where it gets skinny at the closed one. But then it expands again because you have retention and expansion that you can do after the account. If you have AI listening to all the interactions from top of funnel through close through expansion, that can start to glean insights from every stage of the funnel that enables you to make better decisions.
Oh, wow.
Right. So I can start building an account profile around, would you say Toshiba? Right. If I start having conversations with these people at the top and it's recorded and it's transcribed, AI can then create insights out of that. I then have my next layer of conversations, maybe a step deeper in the funnel, have different types of conversations. Maybe I uncover who their incumbent solution is, what they're currently paying, who the stakeholders are. That's feeding the account profile. And AI is picking up information automatically, and then it's disseminating that into information that I can then digest about where this account's at, where my opportunities are, what my threats are for that deal. That's already in existence, and it works very well, right? We do that today. It's very simple. So long as I have a recording at every stage, then AI can do something with that.
Okay.
Which only makes me a better rep. The second part that I think it's not quite there yet, but it's getting close, is really starting to help companies answer at least 2 of the 4 main questions when it comes to outbound selling. And those are list, message, rep, follow-up are the 4 pillars. List is who we target. What accounts do I sell to? What people in those accounts are worth my time and or have something to give me that helps me sell to that account? Message is what do I say to each of those people, right? And that differs by the persona, right? Me talking to a director, they have different pain points and goals than a VP that has different pain points and goals than a C-suite.
Right.
So if you can get list and message right, then you have the rep part. How do I then train the rep to deliver the right message to the right people at the right accounts? And then follow-up is based on how that goes, what are my next step actions here? So where AI really helps with that is the list component. If I can take my last 100 deals I've ever closed and I can run, as much technographic, demographic, psychographic, firmographic data into an AI and say, what is the common themes of all my customers? Now, the next step is it gives me those profiles or one profile. I can now take that to make my list building smarter and faster. I want you to go find accounts like this. Then I say, of those 100 deals, who all was involved in those deals? Directors, managers, VPs, CFOs, CEOs, procurement. Who are my personas that I deal with in those accounts and what are their makeup? Then I can go build better contact lists in those accounts. AI is very close to being able to do that. It's not perfect, but it's good. It's going there. That's going to be one of the walls that fall, which is good because right now reps spend a lot of time building lists.
Yeah.
Eliminate that. What does it give them more time to do? Well, it gives them more time to be human and interact. The next part's the messaging. So when I talk to a director and I have the recording, is it or is it not performing? Can AI help me understand why? What am I saying in these common deals that went well that I didn't say in the deals that didn't? And then how do I build my messaging or my scripting around
So
that?
we're recording a call
Hmm.
and then running the day's calls through AI in a blink of an eye and coming back with feedback. Maybe when you have one rep, let's say that's killing it, and then you can find what's different and the same. Am I understanding
Yeah,
that?
I mean, like here's a great exercise that you could do right now is you're using Fireflies and a lot of people use Gong or some sort of recording tool that
Right.
transcribes it, right? It's pretty, easy to get these days. I would look at if I have a handful of reps, I would take my top performing rep. I would take all of their transcriptions, right? Maybe three, four, five of them of things that went well. And then I would take the transcriptions of my middle performing or low performing reps, and I would have AI say, "Hey, what did this rep that I give you these four or five recording transcripts do that these reps on these transcriptions didn't do?"
Right.
And then it'll say, "Well, rep one is more sophisticated at this. They're a little bit looser here. They're more friendly here. They have more product knowledge here. This rep is weak here, here, and here. They're good here. I would focus on this." That's going to be instant lift you can create today. I literally did this the other day just to see how much better it's gotten.
Huge,
Huge.
huge. Um, and when you see successful sales reps, are there similarities? Do you feel like there are, hey, Frank, I can tell you there are these three, four traits that are inherent in most of the people I know that are really good at this?
Yeah. First one is always attitude over aptitude.
Okay.
They just have the mindset to win. That's first and foremost. That's hard to teach. It's more something you got to find, not teach.
Right.
Um, Outside of that, I think that the best sales reps are the most curious and they ask the best questions. I think my whole philosophy in life is great questions create great answers.
Right.
Shallow questions create shallow answers.
Hmm.
Yes and no questions don't give me a whole lot of intel, but if I can ask very thoughtful, very curious questions, I can uncover a lot about someone or an account. And so I'd say the best reps are that. And the third part is if we're moving towards a world where we're trying to utilize AI and technology to lean into it, as you say, not lean on it. The leaning into it part is enabling the sales rep with technology to do the more human things, which is to converse, right? If I can converse well and I can have good conversations and ask good questions and get good feedback and be able to navigate a conversation, then I'm going to build trust. And trust is the one ingredient you have to close a deal no matter what. And so I think that reps who ask good questions, but even more so know how to converse and can really put themselves in the shoe of the prospect. I think those are the best three qualities is they've got the hustle, the attitude, they can ask fantastic questions to get fantastic answers, and they can, based on those answers, navigate a really, really complex conversation
Yeah.
with a little bit of eloquence. I think there is something to a rep who can just talk versus one who sounds like a bro who just came out of a lacrosse, college lacrosse team.
Hmm.
So I say that because I have one of my reps who came out of college lacrosse. I'm having to beat the bro-ness out of them.
Absolutely. It's not easy to do. So teaching communication is not an easy thing, right? And it's got a lot to do with practice. And that's why I'm thinking about this AI component where you're analyzing conversations and people are able to see because it's like anything, right? If I'm playing tennis casually and I think I'm reaching way back for my serve and making great serve. Then somebody films me and I realize, I thought I was going all the way back here, but really I'm here. I don't know that
Hmm.
until I'm filmed.
Hmm.
So this idea of being able to record something and then compare it and then using the tools that we have in AI, what you had just described, I think that sounds super interesting. So with these components, the first one you said was desire, and you said that's something you got to find, not train.
Hmm.
So how do you find that? Like, what's been your experience?
I have a very unique hiring process when it comes to sales.
Okay.
First and foremost, I don't do applications. If you want to get an at bat with us, you have to cold call into that at bat.
Wow, I love it.
Have to. If you can't do the thing that is the job to get the job, I'm not gonna.
That's
So
great.
you don't pass go. Second thing is rule number one for anyone who gets these cold calls, right? So we have a few numbers that we float around that people are always monitoring when we're hiring for roles. You have to reject every candidate, no matter how good they are. You have to.
Okay.
Hey, Frank, honestly, man, seems like a nice guy, seems sharp enough. I'll be honest with you, I'm just not feeling it. Because Frank is either going to fold like a lawn chair, or he's going to push back and ask good questions. And I'm like, oh, they have a little fight in them.
Absolutely.
So I start there, then I get into an interview if they pass that. And then we spend the entire first interview understanding who they are as a person. I don't care about their aptitude yet.
Right.
Right? Who are they as a person? So we'll ask questions like, hey, Frank, what was the hardest thing or hardest season of life you've ever had to walk through? And I'll make him ask me that. And then I'll ask him, how do you feel about that season now? Because I want to hear if it's like weighs on them super heavy or if they've like used that to become the person they are today. I'll ask them, there's not a great answer here. I just want an answer is Frank, from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed, what's your day look like? And they're like, well, it just depends. Like, wake up, hang out with my wife or my kids, and I get to the office, and then, I'll probably catch up on. I'm looking for like those I probably or I might or those types of things. It's like you don't have a discipline about you.
Right. Right.
I can tell you from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed exactly what I do at all times.
Right.
So those are a lot of the first things. Then after that, we get into the aptitude stuff. Are they very good? And the very, very last thing I do, which no one does, is what we call the trial by fire. It's a sight to behold. So let's just say I have 600 candidates that went through this process, and maybe 30 or 40 made it to the first interview, maybe 20 made it to the second. We're probably down to like our top 4 or 5 when we get to trial by fire. I put them all in the same room together. So we all get on a Zoom like this if they're all over the place, or if it's local, it's in the office.
Mm-hmm.
And they see everyone they're competing against. And I'm saying, hey guys, like we only have room to hire 2. There's obviously more than 2 in this room. And then we do a trial by fire, which is we're going to call the market live together right now. And so we put 4 or 5 people in a room and we give them a list. We coach them up a little bit. And then we see who performs. And I want to see how they perform in this pressure cooker environment. And we're always leaving little Easter eggs. The first thing that we'll do is I'll ask someone, do you want to use our script or do you have something of your own that you've created? If they instantly go to the thing that they've created, they're already losing.
Yeah.
I want them to say, well, obviously I can do my own thing here, but I'd love to be coached. How would you suggest I approach the market? Right. I want to see if they're coachable. And the last thing I finally do to finish up the trial by fire, I've probably made up my mind by now, but there's one last Easter egg, which is, all right, guys, 5 minutes before we end here. Obviously, we're making the decision today. Obviously 2 of you will get the job today. The remaining 2 or 3 still very much interested, but it's just not a right now. Leave the floor open. Any last words you guys have? And just see who speaks up. See who pitches themselves. And what always happens inevitably is there's someone who doesn't say anything or doesn't say much. They just say, hey, thanks for the event. Thanks for this. This is a really cool experience. We learned a lot. Right. Appreciate the opportunity, blah, blah. That same person 10 minutes later will send me a 6-paragraph email. And I will say, why didn't you say it when you had the floor?
Right.
So there's all these little things I build in.
Yeah, yeah.
And because I do that process, I don't miss.
Dude, this is, there's a lot of kind of old school with a modern twist. But the idea, I love what you're doing. I remember I was about 20, in my late 20s, and I was recruited by a company. And I went through all these interviews. I get up to like the next to the last guy. And I had never heard of a thing called a stress interview. I didn't know this was a thing.
Yep.
I'm young, and the guy, there's Joey, actual true word for word story. Guy says to me, and I'm young, New York, feisty, fighting kind of guy, And the guy says, well, listen, Frank, at the end of it, he's like, appreciate it. You came all this way and blah, blah, blah. But I think we're going to go in another direction. And he got up and put his hand out to shake my hand. I sat there, and I let him stand there with his hand out. And he said, Frank, and I said, listen, you don't know me that well. If I'm you, I would sit back down, because if your boss ever finds out that you let me go out of here, you're going to lose your job. That's exactly what I said. And I meant it with every fiber of my being. I was like, you ass, what is wrong with you? Do you know what? But that's what that's what you want in people. You want
You get the
that.
job?
I can do that. It was offered, and I declined it.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. At the end of it, the guy that I saw above him, I felt very disrespected by. It was one of these, like, game playing, let me sit in the lobby for a half an hour, then come out, walk to the Coke machine, sit me back down. I'll be right with you. I go, this is how you're going to treat me when you want me to work for you. How you going to treat me while I'm here, Not gonna work. But yeah,
Yep. We
interesting. I
definitely
never
have a
heard
lot
that.
more. We have a lot more old school mentality over here.
I love it. But I think it depends on the business often and the type of people. But I like that model, man. I love it. What you're doing sounds exceptionally good. So, are there what can you throw out to our folks that are listening? What kinds of things do you think they should be training in, getting better at? Where does the rubber meet
Yeah.
the road if they have this fear of, some have a little bit of fear of AI, as I had said, and how can are there any other things they can use it for, and where do you think they should be focusing
Yeah,
there?
I mean, I think if you are a rep, I'll go rep and then I'll go leader. But if you are a rep, realize that naturally the employment pool is going to contract, or it's going to contract, right? It is just naturally AI will replace mediocrity in a lot of categories.
Sure.
So if I'm a rep today, that is a huge opportunity if you're willing to endure that and become exceptional at your craft. Like, you have to obsess over your craft, whatever that might be. And that may only be for the next 5 years that you're in this world, and then you end up moving to another world, but you've developed the discipline to obsess over something.
Right.
But I think you have to obsess over being a student of the game. First and foremost, which is the very most practical thing you can do. The second thing is, don't believe all the hype around AI when it comes to, again, the front of the house stuff. The front of the house stuff cannot be replaced in any short-term timeline that I can picture.
Right.
Because trust has to be at the beginning, or it has to be at the core of every transaction. I would also say, if you're in a very commoditized transactional space, I'd probably just get out, because you're not. It's that you will be the first to be replaced, because if you're selling a $800 widget,
Absolutely. They're selling cars on Amazon now, so stand by.
stand by. Exactly.
Okay.
And there's a lot of lack of trust in the car space, so it maybe wouldn't have gotten it there as fast as it did
Yeah.
had there been a lot more trust. I think for the the managers and the leaders, I think it's the other side of the coin, which is find the reps who want to be obsessed about their craft and pour all your energy into it, and truly treat your sales team like it's a meritocracy. Be ruthless about cutting mediocre people,
Yeah.
and be okay with having a special forces team instead of a larger army. Well, you know what I see oftentimes these days, especially with like the manager director level, you don't see it as much at the VP C-suite level, but you see it certainly at the manager director. There's like a badge of honor with how many reps you have. I'd rather have 20 reps that produce X than 10 reps that produce X. Right? It's the same outcome. It's a far less profitable outcome, but I'd rather have 20 producing X than 10 producing X. What you need to start realizing is that they're not telling you, but in the boardroom, they are having the conversations of how do they eliminate your head count. And if you fight that, you will also too lose your job.
Right.
Because they have either shareholders, or they have a P&L to manage, et cetera, or they're looking at the numbers in the face and they're saying that this is becoming less and less profitable, right? And really start having to look at your team from like a Pareto principle 80-20 rule. Right? There's probably 20% of your reps that are producing 80% of results. And that's probably about it.
What's super interesting too to me, Joey, is that I've given this counsel to as many sales leaders as I've ever met in my entire career, and I do it today with the companies I consult for, et cetera, is give me a sales manager. Most sales managers, sales VPs, they tend to gravitate toward people that are not producing and believe that's where I'm needed, is to help this person not producing. But your time spent with your best producer, the yield is so much greater.
So much greater.
You have to let the slow horses just either let them go or let them try to catch up. I'm not saying ignore them completely. You've got to give people a helping hand. But the majority of your time should be spent with the people that produce the most. It's like my dad was my basketball coach, and he always used to say, feed the hot hand. When you're passing the ball, feed the hot hand. If Joey's hitting threes all day, just keep bouncing
past Joey. Feed him the rock.
Yeah, and I think that's the way you have to do it when you're controlling a sales organization. That sounds like what you were saying as well.
You have to. And if you think about it from like a true meritocracy perspective, like from a logic perspective, I always give this analogy of like, let's say I have 4 reps.
Right.
I've got one that closes at 30%, 2 that close at 20, and 1 that closes at 10. And let's say I have 100 inbound leads that come in for meetings. Okay. Should I be equitable and give 25 to the first guy, 25 and 25 to the middle 2, and 25 to the bottom? No, I shouldn't. No. But they do, because we're in this very soft, I was going to cuss, very soft culture.
I was with you. Everybody gets a trophy. I got you.
It's a participation thing, and we want to be equitable across the organization. Whereas I'm like, no, I do not want to be equitable. I do not want to reward mediocrity. No. I would like to elevate people as much as they are willing to elevate. But if they are unwilling to elevate, they do not have a home here. Right. And so I think that comes down to like middle management's very weak everywhere. Middle management is very weak in our government everywhere. And so because of that, we scale mediocrity and dysfunction because we want to be nice guys. And I'd rather win than be nice.
Yeah, and it's because we want to be nice guys, and also because there is a penalty sometimes for not being a nice guy. Mm-hmm. And not...
Oh, the incentive structure is insane.
There's, I don't want to get into the whole political thing, obviously, but yeah, I mean, I think that's a cultural phenomenon, is that equality matters. And in a sales environment, selling matters, skills matter, desire matters. And it sounds like that's what you're doing in your organization. I applaud that, because there isn't enough of that. Yeah.
And like, I think that there are people who have weaponized the phrase, it's just business, but it's true, right? Like Jimmy, like little Jimmy, like, I believe you're probably a phenomenal husband and a phenomenal dad and a great friend. You're probably a great golfer, but you're not a producer on my team. And me believing that about who you are in business has nothing to do with how I view you as a husband, father, friend, or golfer. Right. And so I have to differentiate the two and just say, hey, this is a category of life where you're not excelling in. And unfortunately, I have goals to meet, and I have targets to meet, and I have mouths to feed if I hit those targets, and I have mouths that don't eat if I don't. Right. And you are hurting me from hitting those targets. And so it's unfortunate that it is just business here. Love you, but you don't have a place here.
Hey, sales leaders out there, listen carefully to what Joey's saying. You've got to differentiate, and to give yourself a little solace, also understand that everyone that you let go of that isn't producing, you hear my dog squeaking.
I hear your dog.
Everyone you let go of that isn't producing, you've done them a favor.
You have.
You really have. There's nothing more frustrating than banging up against a wall that you can't knock down. And if you don't have the skills in sales, your life is frustrating day in and day out. And it's not going to change unless you change and you acquire the skills. So if you see somebody that is not getting it done and doesn't seem to have the desire to learn how to get it done or the aptitude, do them a favor and let them go do something they can be better off at.
I have so many people that I let someone go this year who I told him, I was like, dude, you're a phenomenal person. You're wicked smart, almost too smart for your own good in some ways. I don't have a home here for you, but I think that you would really excel in rev ops, not sales.
Okay.
He's like, it really beat him up because he wants to be good at sales. Like, he's at least lip service wise wants to be good at sales. Come to find out, he's now taken a rev ops job and he's just smashing it, crushing it. And I couldn't be more happy for the guy because he's found a pocket that is his sweet spot.
Yeah.
And sales just wasn't it. It's fine. Like, I could be really good at football and terrible at baseball.
Hey,
I should just go play football.
Conversation with my CFO when in the old company that we had before we sold, I tell them all the time, I could never do what you do. Mm-hmm. When they would talk about salespeople and why don't they this and it's two different things. I can't do what the CFO does. I look at the spreadsheet, the P&L, and you can walk me down it, and I could see stuff on the balance sheet if you show it to me. But left to my own devices, I'd miss more than I'd get. It's just the nature of my brain. But the same way with that person that's doing that job. So you got to, as Drucker, I think it was, that said, get the right people on the bus and then put them in the right seats.
That's right. 100% right.
All right, man. Well, Joey, this has been super valuable for me personally. So I know my audience.
Oh, man, I appreciate that.
Because I learned so much today. What a great time meeting you. This is fantastic. And I can't wait till this airs. The reactions we're going to get are going to be phenomenal. You gave so many good tools that people can implement tomorrow and be better at what they're doing. So I really appreciate that.
I appreciate it, Tommy. And Frank, it was a lot of fun. You asked great questions. Hope your audience finds value in it.
All right. Thanks, Joe.
Cheers.
Ready to take your sales team or event to the next level? Visit franksomma.com to discover how Frank can coach your top performers, deliver a tailored workshop for your team, or captivate your audience with a content-packed keynote at your next event. Frank's best-selling book, B2B is really P2P, is now available on Amazon and Frank's website. Here's a special offer. As a valued listener, mention this podcast when you contact Frank and receive a 10% discount on your first coaching session, keynote, or workshop booking.
That's a wrap. Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Selling in the Age of AI. Be sure to check out the show notes for links to all of the topics we discussed, and of course, to connect with our amazing guests. I have to shout out big love to my production team, Neeks, Angelo, Nico of Digital Presence. You guys rock. If you want your digital presence to explode, check these guys out at digitalpresence.team. And until next time, remember, people can't point and click you. Be the difference maker for your prospects and clients.